Everything you need to know, you learn in NAV 101. Again.
That makes one. Mr. Pierce, did you put water in my vodka again? First off, I need to start out by commenting on a very serious issue that has arisen since certain details of my speech were made known to the powers that be in this district. And that is the issue of censorship. I was approached and informed in no uncertain terms that I would not be allowed to deliver my speech tonight unless I agreed to wear clothes underneath my gown. Now, it's a terrible shame because that caused me to rewrite the entire finale to my speech. And you were in for a real treat, let me tell you. Just ask my 5th period class, okay? Oh, wait, I probably shouldn't have said that. See, I better explain. You see, I was performing for them the calculus, the musical, right? You know, and, well, things just kind of got out of hand during the asymptote dance, you know, you do that. And, well, you know how things get in a math class. They get kind of crazy sometimes. Actually, there were concerns about tonight, you know, about with the impending rapture on May 21st, that the only people here tonight would be school administrators and district officials. But I guess we'll get to keep them company until October now. It's been delayed. But I have just been informed that there's been a slight schedule change for tonight. This time was originally slotted to have my speech, but it's been discovered that you are actually one navigation lesson short. No. Of the number needed to fulfill the state requirement for graduation. So I have been asked to forego the privilege of delivering my prepared speech in order to be your NAV advisor for one final lesson. And in all honesty, you're really not missing too much because I spent as much time preparing this speech as Jesus Lopez spent in class this year. So. And I wasn't really going to go out and tell you to go out and change the world anyway. I kind of like the world the way it is, to be honest. It comforts me to look around and see something that's in worse shape than I am, you know. Besides, my graduating class tried to change the world and we failed. And we were a lot smarter than you guys. So, anyway, now, this rescheduling tonight is going to cause the other parts of the program to all be 5 minutes shorter. So, I'm afraid that you that are at the end of the line aren't going to be able to receive your diplomas here tonight. So they're going to be available at the district office, okay, next week during regular business hours, okay, so you can pick them up there. And we thank you for understanding that we have our priorities straight here at Sedro-Woolley School District. Now, come on, guys. Hey, let's behave. Because you're all officially in my class now, all right? And many of you have had me before, but many of you are brand new to my class. So I want to welcome you the way I always welcome new students to my class. Good evening. My name is Mr. Chris Jensen, but you can call me Darth Jensen. The most important thing you need to remember about Sedro-Woolley High School is it's a beautiful sanctuary where everyone loves you, and it is part of a free, glorious democratic republic of the United States of America. But this classroom is a cold, sterile dictatorship, ruled by a heartless, yet surprisingly handsome tyrant, where nobody cares about you. And I am the biggest nobody you'll ever meet. That didn't come out quite the way I meant. Now that you all feel comfortable in my class, let's get to the lesson. You'll need your nav binders, so go ahead and get those out. Oh, wait a minute, they should be with you at all times. You're not supposed to go anywhere without your nav binder. Okay, well first, before we start the lesson, I've got to say as I look out here on the class of 2011, that I think we're taking this every student graduate things just a little too far. I mean, I can understand lowering the bar a little bit sometimes, to help a student graduate, but I think in some cases we've buried the bar and we've dragged your comatose bodies across it. No, that's not fair. I mean, I'm sorry, Spencer, you probably deserve to graduate. For your final lesson, we're going to look back and list some of the achievements of the class of 2011. Then we will look forward and we'll set some goals for your future. Now don't worry, they won't be smart goals, okay? I've never done anything smart in my life, okay? Except trick my wife into marrying me. Also, your goals don't have to be permanent or chiseled in stone. Mine were because that's all we had to write on when I was a kid. But in fact, when I was your age, the class was called Navigation 101 BC. Okay, let's start with your list of accomplishments. Well, now that that's out of the way, let's go on to set the goals. No, in all seriousness, you are truly one of the most outstanding graduating classes that we have had at Sedro-Woolley High School in the 10 years that I have taught here. There is no question about that. Some of your parents, however, are a little weird. During the last decade, I was becoming quite discouraged by what I observed as the vanishing academic male in our school. It seemed that every year there were fewer and fewer strong male scholars in our upper level classes. They were always vastly outnumbered by strong female students. Well, that's true. There were always notable exceptions, but it was almost as if it wasn't cool to be smart and male at the same time. But this year's graduating class boasts an exceptionally large number of brilliant male students to join a very large number of equally abled female students. Now, it may be just an aberration, for I know some of you are fairly aberrant, but you give me hope that it's not just an aberration, but a trend. I look at the classes following you, and I see larger numbers of young boys who aren't afraid to be smart, because there are so many cool guys in your class who are smart. Now, as an aside to you parents, see, right now, every guy in the class thinks I'm talking about them. Okay? And every girl in the class is trying to think of just one smart guy in the class who's cool. Another great achievement of this class is that you always seem to win every class competition that we had at school. Even as freshmen, if I remember that right. You guys are always coming out on top. I remember last year as juniors, you beat the seniors in a volleyball match. That was very impressive. Of course, I then remember what happened when you took on the staff team composed of 6 old worn-out teachers. We thumped you. Mr. Warman, myself, Miss Knight, Miss Voorhees, Miss McTaggart, and the human kill machine, Mr. Pierce. Bump, set, Pierce. Oh, I think I hear Trent Gardner crying right now. Oh, wait, Robert, Robert Davis, he cringes every time he sees Mr. Pierce because of that game. That's Pierce traumatic stress syndrome. Write this down in your binders, please. Thumped by old people. Another achievement is that you allowed me to get Hank Smith into Harvard. Well done. Now, if the rest of you would have just asked me to do that for you, I could have worked out a deal, and you could have all gone to Harvard. Finally, without question, your greatest achievement here at SWHS has been your impact on the faculty and staff. Everyone always thinks about the impact that a teacher has on a child, but it works the other way just as much. When you leave us much more worn out and bitter than we ever were before you met us. And it's not fair. You get to leave here tonight and go on to new adventures. I have to stay here for the next 40 years and listen to Mr. McCart tell me how much more the students like him than they like me. I know the students like him more than they like me. I like him more than I like me. All right, let's move on to setting goals. Don't set goals. I had goals, and look how I ended up. I decided in 7th grade to become a math teacher. I'm the poster child for not letting stupid little kids make career decisions. I maybe could have done something useful with my life. Stand up if you're one of the graduates tonight who is considering going into teaching. Stand up, don't be shy. If you're considering going into teaching, stand up. Let's give them a round of applause here tonight. I just have one thing to say to you. Are you people crazy?
Hell yeah, man!
Okay, now, sit down before I knock you down, all right? Have you not been paying attention for the last 12 years of your lives? Save yourselves. Now, if you go into teaching, you will end up working with some of the most wonderful people on the face of the earth as colleagues. And every year, you will have to come into close contact with a group of young people whose lives you will have the power to influence for good or for ill, like I've done. And your students will certainly impact you forever and will make your life profoundly rewarding beyond anything you will find in any other line of work. You have to ask yourself if you really want that. I know I do. And that's why I love this job so much. It's because of you. And among you young people sitting before me tonight are some of the finest individuals whom I have ever met in my entire life. And I'm deeply honored to call you my friends. But I do want to leave you with a few final words of advice. It is very important to have goals, both short-term and long-term. And I know that most of you have those. And it's okay and it's even healthy if they change from time to time. Maybe not every other Tuesday, but they can change. But it's equally important that you be willing to put in the hard work that it takes to achieve those goals. Everybody wants to win on game day, but not everyone is willing to bust their behinds in practice every day in order to make it happen. Many of you are going off to college, and I'm sure you want to do well. But are you willing to do what it takes to excel? There's no extra credit. There's no late work accepted. Your professor isn't there because they love to teach. They usually want to research and publish, and you are merely an unwanted necessity. You have got to want your education and your degree to get it. There are also a lot of distractions at college. you'll find that not everyone is there to get an academic education. There are plenty of opportunities to get caught up in the crowd that wastes their parents' money, partying and getting drunk every weekend. Yep. And parents, you got to note which ones those are. I remember my freshman year at college, looking around at so many classmates just partying their lives away. I decided that I wasn't going to be one of those losers. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciated them, those wasted stoners, very much. They brought down the grading curve so that I appeared way smarter than I really was. So appreciate them, but do it from a distance. Don't become one of them. Because in my experience, intelligence and alcohol don't mix. Alcohol destroys lives and relationships. And it's never made anybody's lives any better. I don't care what anyone says. Now, heroin, I think, is okay. No. Although I have seen firsthand so much of the damage that drugs and alcohol do, I've actually never even tried them myself. Never even tasted it. Unless you count last week in Miss Knight's AP chemistry class, when I tasted the root beer that the students made. Holy smoke, that stuff was potent. I think we need to call the Liquor Control Board on what she's doing in that AP chemistry class. I had to get a designated walker just to get back to my classroom. That's the end of the lesson. I declare that you have now fulfilled the state requirement for NAV. All you need to do now is to go forth, love God, love your families, love each other, and when your backs are really up against the wall and you don't know what to do, remember to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. I love you all very much.